Oh my gosh, that medicine ain't working.
What'd you take?
Zyrtec or something I take every day, but
Yeah, I
oh,
take the same thing. Do you have a
my,
nose spray?
I don't. But man, my what's killing me right now are my eyes. They are burning so bad.
Ooh, yeah.
I've put the allergy drops in them. Ain't nothing working. They burn so bad, Brent. I take two Coke cans that are in the refrigerator and put them on my eyes.
Man. Hmm.
All right.
I've got a little thing called Blink, Blink. It's an eye drop that that helps you with dry eyes.
Hmm. Brent, I want to ask you about James Madison. I think there's one other team that's not eligible to go to a bowl. Oh, it's Jacksonville State.
That's who it is. Yes,
I'm gonna ask you about. I just think that's the stupidest damn rule.
I agree with that totally. Yeah, I just texted you the eye drop, the name of it, Shane.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. You're looking live at PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to carry. It's Thursday. It means we'll have Brent Beaird, college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter. We'll also have second portion, a little Baker Sporting Goods High School roundup. Volleyball is in their playoffs. High school football is winding down. Got some big games this weekend. We'll talk to Mike Ridaught from the Prep Zone and Main Street Daily News. You missed it last night. Astros finally win a game, and the Rangers finally lose a postseason game. That series is 2-1, 8-5 Astros, and both baseball games are this evening, along with NFL Jaguars at the New Orleans Saints. Let's go to the Titan More Hotline, and we're joined by, as I mentioned, our college football analyst, Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How you doing, my man?
Shane, good morning. I'm fresh from the Jacksonville Gator Club last night. I enjoyed being with that group, and a lot of those folks that listen to the morning podcast with you, and they enjoy that. Wanted to send you some greetings over that way. And some of them listen every day, so we're very grateful for that.
Yes, indeed. There's no question about that. Speaking of that, Andy on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melon Law. He says, Brent, how optimistic was the Jacks Gator Club last night about a possible Gator victory over the Dogs?
Well, it's funny you say that, and I appreciate the question. We actually talked about that, and they brought the question of do we have a chance? And we talked about a lot of the variables. Brock Bowers being out, Georgia getting off to slow starts, Florida playing better. There was no guaranteeing victory or anything like that, it does help if you think as a fan that your team is playing better and under the right conditions that you could pull off an upset, whether it's Georgia or some of the other teams on their schedule who are going to be favored.
Yeah, we just need the Dogs to come out one of their normal slow starts and
Yeah.
struggle a little bit and get on top. Anything can happen. Before we jump into it, Barone on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plum, says, Shane, what was a weekend on a bye week like in your days compared to a weekend in the off season? I guess you're asking as a player. Uh, I don't know how they do it nowadays. In the off season, our weekends, we didn't do anything. You were gone. You could go wherever you wanted, do whatever you wanted to do. I want to say they've practiced Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. May practice today, but he'll give them off until Monday probably. They'll probably have meetings on Sunday night. But even Coach Spur and the coach used to go to the beach. He used to get away. I think it's good for these guys to get away at times. Brent, let's jump right into it. The AP poll is out. Anything surprise you? The top 25?
Not really. I mean, I think we're beginning to get to that point. And remember, the first college football playoff poll is coming up in a couple of weeks. So we will really know what they think at that point, too. I mean, you've still got a lot of Pac-12 schools in here. And again, there's a lot of, in the top 10, you've got three or the big three teams out of the Big Ten, but they start playing each other, which is a good thing, frankly. And then you still got Washington, Oregon still in the top 10 after that loss to Washington, and they should be. Did you see where North Carolina is, Shane? They're number 10 right now, kind of moving up the ladder a little bit. Ole Miss is at 13. If folks are wondering about Utah, they are at 14. You know, I actually heard a little bit of talk last night about the possibility of Cam Rising just going ahead and redshirting this year and maybe come back and play next year. So
Wow.
not saying that's going to happen, but there's a little bit of talk like that out there, and Duke remains in the top 20 at number 16. So interesting top 25, and still I have to look at this 2 or 3 times, but Clemson is with others receiving votes, and that's someplace we thought we'd never see.
No doubt about it. On YouTube, Richard asked, brought to you by Quality Plumber, Shane, how far can merch chunk it? I don't know the answer to that. I want to say Sean always does an interview with Graham that goes on our pregame show. And I think he asked him that question a couple weeks ago. He said like 60 or 65, which is, again, I try to tell people this, they don't listen. He has a better arm than majority of the Spurrier quarterbacks that played. I think he has a better arm than Trask probably. You don't throw a football over 50 yards in any football game unless it's a Hail Mary. That's what I just don't understand the general public. And this is not directed at you, Richard. I'm just saying so many people in today's world, because of social media and these silly ass combines, get caught up in the measurables that mean absolutely zip when it comes to playing quarterback. Zero means nothing. So there you have it.
Well, I'll give you a quick example of that. But we had all these videos in the off season of Joe Milton throwing the ball 70 yards. The reality of it is Joe Milton's one of the most average quarterbacks in the entire SEC.
If he's average, I don't even know if he's average. He looks the part.
Yeah.
You want him getting off the bus first. You want him running out of the tunnel first, but you don't want him playing quarterback for you. And somebody in the NFL is going to get their ass fired when they draft him. Just say it. All right, we got some really good games this week, Brent. It's a good week for Gator Nation to sit on the couch and eat Cheetos or whatever they do and watch college football. Before we jump into the SEC games, just talk about, like, last night there were some good games on. Heck, I watched a little bit of Sam Houston State. They've bounced up to FBS now, and damn, they had game one, and Florida International kicks field goal, goes in overtime, they lose. But tonight, a team who was undefeated, who just bumped up to FBS, who's ineligible for a bowl game, which makes no sense to me. Please explain it. James Madison, the Dukes are playing at Marshall on ESPN tonight.
Yeah, James Madison actually came into Division I in 2022. Jacksonville State with Ridaught, who won the other night too, is also Now they're coming in this year. And no, I'm with you totally with that. That is one of the silliest things that I've heard of at this point. I know with your Mississippi ties, you probably saw it. It's really amazing how far Southern Miss has fallen. South Alabama beat them Tuesday night, 55-3. And look, unfortunately, also for Gator Nation, Austin Armstrong got out of Southern Miss just in time, didn't he, Shane?
Yes, he did. And I have Southern Miss's next head coach that is a no-brainer if they want to call me. Not call me to be the coach, but if they want my advice of who they should hire, they will be relevant immediately in whatever conference they play in. I can't keep. Are they in Conference USA or the Sun Belt? What are they in?
Let me look that up real quick. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, none of us know because they bounce around. So
yeah,
I'll tell you exactly who it is. If they would hire Kerwin Bell, they'd be immediately in contention in that league, guaranteed. So
yeah.
Kerwin took over maybe one of the worst programs in America for 50 or 60 years, and in 3 years they're in the top 10, and they will be in the playoffs this year. Don't be surprised if they're not in the hunt to win it. Mike says, but can he throw it accurate? I guess Graham Mertz is extremely accurate on all the throws he makes. I don't know what games y'all watch. It blows me away. I don't know what y'all are looking at. You're not going to, if you hit 30 to 40 to 50% of your deep balls, you're having a hell of a day. A hell of a day. Andy says Southern Miss is in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, that's right.
At one time they were in Conference USA, weren't they?
Yeah, yes, they were.
Yeah, I can't even keep up with it.
And listen, Southern Miss, Jeff Bowers was a coach, but people may remember that name a lifetime ago, and that was one of the they were really good at that point. And you remember Larry Fedora in a short time too. I still think. I mean, you understand Southern Miss better than most. I still say if you got the right guy there, that he would do well. And I tell you, another guy who's going to be up in the SEC pretty soon is John Sumrall, who is the coach at Troy. He is 17-4 right now, and the door's going to open for him probably sooner than later.
Yep, for sure. Brent, Heisman Trophy, I think Caleb Williams is done. I think he had an uphill battle anyway because I don't think voters want to have a back-to-back or two-time winner. Right now, if you had to vote today, I guess you can. I know you can't tell us who you vote for till after it's over, but who would you probably put at number 1 and number 2 and number 3 right now?
Oh yeah, I don't mind doing that. Michael Penix would be number 1 out of Washington. He really is, frankly, tremendous. I think Jaden Daniels is going to, particularly if they keep winning, he would go to New York, I believe. I'm not going to say he's going to win it, and I'll put Jordan Travis in there too as a possibility, and I would also include Drake May. I think Drake May is playing well. So is J.J. McCarthy at Michigan and Dylan Gabriel, Oklahoma, who was at UCF. So it's a good group. And I'll be honest with you, if he had not gotten hurt, Brock Bowers may have been in my top 3. I'm not always just a quarterback guy, but for good or for bad, it's turning into a quarterback award.
Yeah. Reggie says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, Shane, the people that complain about Mertz's deep ball accuracy have never even put on a jersey, much less pads. Yeah, there's no issues at all. And somebody asked me on YouTube, could he play in the NFL? I think Graham Mertz, he's got another year of college football.
He does.
I do think he will be I think he can play in that league as a backup for a long time, Brent. And the reason I say that is because he's a tremendous teammate. He's smart as heck, and that's what you need in backup quarterbacks in that league.
Sure.
So we'll see. I mean, we're not worried about it. I don't care if he never plays down in the NFL. What he does in the orange and blue uniform is all that matters to me. What did you think about that Notre Dame USC game the other night, Brent? Did it surprise you at all?
No, because USC is so bad defensively that folks really just need to watch a USC game, and I believe they've got Utah this weekend. And if you remember last year in the Pac-12 championship game, Utah just was so much more physical than they were. Now Alex Grinch is their defensive coordinator, but the reality of it is they really just don't want to play defense there. They're not going to admit that, but Riley just thinks they can outscore everybody. But you can find out that that's not the case. I think USC has 2 or 3 more losses, probably beginning this weekend before the season is over. But they're really not going to do anything until they get better at stopping people. Interesting stat that in 2 seasons at Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman at home has as many AP top 10 wins as Brian Kelly did in 12 years. So Freeman's getting his act together with Notre Dame, and they're playing much better in the second year.
Yeah. Mitchell asked, how many weak arm quarterbacks are NFL starters? I don't know. Joe Burrow doesn't have a great arm. He's extremely smart and accurate. His arm is not that strong. I think, again, I don't care what anybody else says, but Pat Mahomes has a great arm. I wouldn't call it a strong arm. It's not. Josh Allen has an elite strong arm, but he knows how to make all the throws. If you're blessed with a strong arm, thank the Lord for that. You can't make yourself have a strong arm. I'm just telling you, Graham Mertz's arm is plenty strong enough. It's stronger than most of the Spurrier quarterbacks. Way stronger than mine and Danny's arm. Not even close. He's got plenty of arm strength to play in the SEC and to be an NFL guy on a roster. Simple as that. All right, Brent, the big one this week before we jump in the SEC is Penn State at Ohio State. If Penn State's ever going to beat them, this should be the year.
Yeah, they've got the defense that could do that. Frankly, I heard a Penn State beat writer talk about them yesterday, and I thought this was interesting. He said James Franklin is not a great game day coach, but he's a really good CEO, and he knows how to delegate. But the problem is they really struggle in big games like this. And they need to get a win. They don't have the receivers that Ohio State does. I know their quarterback's really good, and he's only thrown 1 pick this year, which is impressive. But I still like Ohio State. The game's is at Ohio State. I think they're playing well too. Now, James Franklin at Penn State, 2-11 on the road against top 25 teams. 0-9 on the road versus top 10 teams, 1-8 versus Ohio State, 1-11 versus top 5 teams. So there are a lot of people who think James Franklin had more success at Vanderbilt than he has Penn State.
That's interesting. So we'll see. That's a noon game on Saturday. 1966 HBC beers available at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, Gator Games in the Swamp, and select retail outlets. Crisp American Lager. That's 1966 HBC beer. Brent Beaird on the Titan More Hotline. All right, Brent, let's go around the SEC. The big one this week, the 3:30 game on CBS. Alabama and Tennessee. The Vols, I just don't see how the Vols can win this game personally. They're one-dimensional right now running the football. I think that plays into the hands of Alabama. The only thing that can keep Tennessee in this game is Alabama's offensive line's given up a bunch of sacks this year so far. What do you see in this game?
Well, look, I think this thing could be 17-14. Frankly, you've got 2 average offenses against 2 good defenses. The key to the game is going to be Tennessee's defensive front against Alabama's offensive line, which is still struggling. Now, this is an incredible stat. Alabama as the first SEC team in the last 20 years to have 6 consecutive games allowing at least 4 sacks. That's an amazing stat, isn't it, Shane?
Really
when you think about the offensive line, I give Heupel credit. He realized, obviously, somewhere along the line that he had a very average quarterback in Joe Milton. So what they've done is they've emphasized their running game, which is probably the best in the league, and their front 7. And what they've done is both these teams are among the top, really the top 2 or 3 in the nation in tackles for loss. So that's something that's going to be very interesting. Here's another. Now I'm not a gambler, but here's a fascinating stat. Tennessee is 5-0 when they run for over 160 yards, and 14-0 the last 14 times they have run for at least 160 yards. So if you're looking for a mark to who's going to win the game, you might want to think about that one. Also, both these teams have had success running the ball. Bama's got Tennessee a week off, LSU, and then Kentucky, 3 of the better running teams. And again, they're trying to get – they will go as far as – and Shane and I have talked about this for months, but they will go as far as Jalen Milroe takes them. That is just the reality of this. Tennessee has not won in Tuscaloosa since 2003, and I can assure you he will never admit this, but Nick Saban is very, very focused on this game, and they want to win this game very badly. It doesn't mean they will, but they have not been focused like the second half of the Arkansas game. So, no doubt, it is a game of the week in the SEC.
Yes, for sure. Andy put a stat up here about the semis, saying they're the only team in the top 15 in offense, defense, and special teams efficiency. I thought they were like 80th or 90th in the country in defense, from what I saw. So I'm not sure. Anyway,
yeah, their defensive strength is basically in sacks and tackles for loss. Probably not in yards, but that's how they're measuring it right now.
I got you. Yeah, because I could have sworn that when they were getting ready to play Syracuse, both defenses were like ranked in the 80s in America. But anyway, Arkansas on a 5-game losing streak. This is a huge game for them. If they don't win this one, they may not win another one. They host Mississippi State, who's struggling as well. So what do you see happening in this game?
Well, both of these teams really need wins badly. I mean, KJ Jefferson could be the difference in the game, and he was very impressive in the Alabama game too. Frankly, the real question here is, Will Rogers, the Mississippi State quarterback, and Woody Marks, who's a really good running back for State, are both injured, and the question is going to be is how much are they going to play? And Rogers is still trying to transition to Kevin Barbay's offense. People might remember they got rid of the air raid from Mike Leach days, and now they're more pro style than anything. Arkansas has lost 8 one-possession games. Think about that, Shane, going back to last season. So no question, this is a humongous game for both these teams.
Yes, indeed. Joseph says if Damian George wasn't going to play for Alabama, just imagine how bad their line truly is. Yeah, so I don't know what to make of that game. I think it's a huge game for both teams, and we'll see what happens there. Ole Miss is traveling to Auburn. Auburn literally can't complete a forward pass. They are so Auburn. Hugh Freeze coaching against his old team. I think Ole Miss is going to win the game, but it wouldn't shock me if Auburn keeps it close somehow. But what do you think about the game there and on the Plains?
No, I would agree with that. Sometimes the Auburn voodoo, as they call it, comes into play, and you have some strange things that happen. Now, I would be interested to see what the student section does with their signage, because if you remember, we thought he might be, so they'll probably have a little bit of fun with that. To back up what Shane said with Auburn's passing, last week one of their beat writers tweeted out that Auburn just topped 100 yards against a Power 5 opponent for the first time since October 29th of last year. That's really how bad it is at this point. Ole Miss's defense with Pete Golding, who was in Alabama, they're slowly coming around and they're getting better. I mean, this is a game Ole Miss ought to win. They were off last week, so they should be ready to go. And again, Ole Miss has got Georgia down the line, so that's going to be interesting too. And look, I know Auburn plays well defensively. They've run the ball well. So I'm with you, Shane. I could see them being in this game for a while, but I just think Jackson Dart and Judkins and that crew is just too much of them for the end.
Taking our text line, Daryl asked, Brent, I have family in North Carolina, and they're very excited about the Tar Heels. Could you see them in the playoffs?
Yeah, possibility, particularly if they're able to get into the ACC championship game. They are playing better defensively, too. Remember Gene Chizik as their D coordinator. They were awful last year. They're much better this year. That has made a big difference for them. And also real quick, for North Carolina, Tez Walker, you remember that name, Shane? He's a wide receiver.
He is unbelievable, by the way.
Yes. And they finally were able to get him eligible. For some reason that the NCAA was keeping him on the sidelines. He finally played last week against Miami, 5 catches, 125 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So he's really good, as Shane said.
Where did he transfer from?
I'd have to look that up.
Okay, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I
that's okay.
I don't know where he came from. Some makes me think he came from Texas, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Brent, it's an interesting game at Tiger Stadium. Army's rolling into town. It's not the old Army teams, but I think they still run the triple option. So, look, LSU can't stop anybody, but they're on a pace for a prolific year offensively. I mean, like, they have a chance to, I believe, have more yards and touchdowns than the Joe Burrow year they won the national title.
Well, you've got a quarterback in Jayden Daniels who actually Daniels leads the nation in yards per attempt. Yes, with 11 yards per attempt. He's that good, and he's been tremendous for them. Now, the really amusing thing about Army is they're actually better at throwing the ball than they used to be. They're actually in this situation where they've still only had one play of 30 yards or more in passing. They are now averaging like maybe 150 yards passing. Now, people snicker at that, but Shane, you and I both know there have been times Army hasn't had 150 yards passing in a month. So, and their attempts are up to 16 per game. Actually, they're averaging 143. But it's just odd that you'd play one of the military academies in late October.
Andy did some research for us. He said Tez Walker was at Kent State.
Yeah.
Holy cow. How did he fall through the cracks? Brent, I saw this the other day, and it just baffles me. As well as Jayden Daniels has played the last 2 years, Johnny Wilson, the big, tall wide receiver at FSU, and Ricky Pearsall here with the Gators were all in the same offense for Herm Edwards at Arizona State.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do a damn thing. I mean, think about that.
That really is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Johnny Wilson, all 6'7" of him.
Yeah.
I don't get that either, but that was the case, yes.
Yeah, I don't know who was coaching offense for them. All right, another interesting game. Missouri hosts South Carolina. Missouri came from behind. They were down 14-0, and they just went on a run against Kentucky. South Carolina's coming in reeling. This is going to be a track meet, in my opinion. 2 good quarterbacks really moving the football right now.
Brady Cook's playing very well for Missouri. Luther Burden, in their win last week, actually had a couple of catches for 15 yards, so they actually proved that they could win a game without him having to do a lot. But Burden is one of the better wide receivers, frankly, anywhere with this. Shane Beamer now is 17-15 at South Carolina. He's getting some criticism. His defensive coordinator, Clayton White, is getting even more criticism at this point. Shane, did you hear where Beamer got mad after the game and in frustration kicked something and broke his foot?
Yep. Got to be smarter than that. Just throw something. If you want to break something, throw something really. So you don't actually hit it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, but I am curious how impressed you were with Rattler, seeing him in person.
He was really good, man. They got some dudes on the outside too, so that'll be a fun, entertaining game to watch. Before we move to the ACC, a lot of teams the Gators, Vanderbilt, Georgia, a bunch of people have bye weeks, but A&M does as well. Any rumblings from your A&M folks that this is Jimbo's last game, last year?
Yeah, and let me give you an answer to that. I heard from a beat writer for A&M, and this was what he said. He said that they will probably – now, I want you to get this logic here. They think they will keep him for at least another year because – and this is their mentality, and I get that. They play Texas next year. And they think if they keep him until at least the Texas game, that they will keep that roster intact. And look, it's a good roster. They've got some tremendous players. There's no question about that. But if they keep him, that they'll have very little turnover, and they will have a better shot at beating Texas. Okay, I'm not saying that they won't. If they just collapse, they won't. They may still get rid of him, but that was one beat writer's opinion, that he would survive the season because that Texas game is so important to them at this point. And by the way, Jimbo's winning percentage as a college coach with Jameis Winston, 96%. Without him, it's 68%. And by the way, in the game last week against Tennessee, Anaya Smith had in the past two games actually has touched the ball 5 times total, and both are losses. Look, you and I both know Anaya Smith is one of the better athletes and most dangerous players in the entire SEC. Shane, 5 touches in the past 2 games is inexcusable, isn't it?
It is, and they got Moose Muhammad, and they got the other kid, the other highly recruited. I thought their 3 wideouts were phenomenal. I don't know what the hell's going on there.
They are.
There was something, I just lost my train of thought that I was going to ask you. The winning percentage gets with Jameis, I get, but you also played in the ACC. It's a little bit different animal. Now that he's been in the SEC, he's had a revolving door quarterback, but it's week in and week out tough football. All right, before we get you out of Brent, ACC, Duke goes to Florida State Saturday night, 7:30 game. Do you think Riley Leonard's going to play quarterback? Because if he does, now obviously he won't be 100%, but he's a really good player. Duke should be undefeated. They lost a heartbreaker in the last seconds to Notre Dame. Some people think Duke can beat the semis.
Yeah. There's some thought about that. Yeah, absolutely. Now Ken Coleman is still playing extremely well, and has been probably the best transfer there's been so far. But I agree with that. Duke's 5-1, and look, I hope he stays. But Mike Elko, their coach, is going to be a hot commodity at the end of the year. And let me throw this out there. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but this has been brought up too. If they do fire Jimbo, Mike Elko could be a real candidate for A&M because he was the defense coordinator at A&M before he went to Duke. So file that away somewhere. along that line. But you're right. This is going to be one of the better games. This is a night game, CBS Sports. Well, I'm sorry. It's not on CBS Sports, but it's a night game that's going to be a lot of fun to watch during that time too. So keep that in mind. Miami is still reeling, frankly, and they're struggling. Cristobal is 9-9, and is 3-6 in the ACC. 0-5 at home in ACC play. So those are some numbers they need to get turned around. They've got a better team than what they've showed as of recently.
Yeah, but I don't see them beating the Clemson Tigers. Brent,
No.
Good stuff as always, my man. We'll see you next week in Jacksonville. Enjoy the Alabama-Tennessee game with your family, and safe travels.
Good. Always enjoy, Shane. Take care.
That's Brent Beaird, our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter, joining us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. We're going to take a quick timeout. We come back. We're going to have Mike Ridaught. We're going to talk a little high school sports on the Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Silverback Concrete's a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structures with unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete, you stand on it, we stand by it. Going back to the Titan MR text line, we're joined by Main Street Daily News, the Prep Zone. He does it all. High school sports, Mike Ridaught. Good morning, Mike. How you doing, buddy?
Very good, Shane. Good morning. How are you?
Good. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously, we're already in playoff mode for districts for volleyball. Let's start there. Any upsets so far? Pretty much the one seeds moving on.
Yeah, pretty much the one seeds have moved on. Brantford, the 1 seed in 1A District 6, will play the 2 seed Union County. Newberry is a 1 seed in their district. They will play 2 seed Chiefland. Williston, a 1 seed. Oak Hall, a 1 seed. So all the 1 seeds apparently have will get a chance to win a district championship. And for our coverage area, heck, we could have as many as 7 teams win a district championship. And actually, we had 1 team win a district championship last night. 2-time defending state champion Santa Fe swept Eastside last night. No surprise there. But I do want to give a quick shout out to Rachel Williams, the head coach of Eastside. Saying last year they won one game all year long. This year they went 500, 11-11, got the 2 seed, and made it to the district championship game. So, kudos to Eastside and the job that Rachel did turning that program around. But Santa Fe, they're not as talented as they were last year, obviously. They had a 2-time Miss Volleyball, Jalen Stout, but they are still talented enough to make a run in the 4A state playoffs.
Yeah, they still have a good team. They're very well coached. So who do they play next round? Do we know yet?
No, next week the regional play starts on Tuesday for their classification. Quarterfinals are 2A through 4A on Tuesday, and then 5A through 7A on Wednesday, and then you get into semifinal play pretty quickly. One thing that's different, and by the way, that'll be Friday and Saturday next week, but one thing that will be different this year, Shane, is that they are moving the Final Four to one location. The last few years, we've been having the state semifinals. You have to play at a school site. But now they've got the Final Four down in Polk County at Polk State College. So that'll be kind of a little bit different this year.
Yeah, for sure. And before we move to football, Gainesville High, I think they have their regional or district final tonight, and you'll be covering that. But they have a chance to make a deep, deep run.
They do. I think now the only problem about that, Shane, is that they play in a very tough region. There's a couple of teams, Gulf Breeze, really nice. You have to go like 19-2 or 20-2, something like that. Tallahassee Childs, 2 teams that are ahead of them in their region, and then Tallahassee Leon is kind of right there with Gainesville. So it will be tough, but they are certainly talented enough to make a run. They've got 3 Division I players on their team. They've got New Smyrna Beach, though, in the district championship game tonight. Last year, they had to go to New Smyrna for the district title. They lost that game, but tonight they'll be in the Purple Palace, which is good news for them because they've won 17 straight at home.
Yeah, it should be a good night for sure. All right, let's move to high school football. It's crazy. They only have a couple games left and then playoffs start. There's a big one tonight at Citizens Field here in Gainesville. Buchholz, who's undefeated, plays usually their toughest opponent year in and year out, Bartram Trail out of the St. John's area.
Yeah.
Very well coached team. Andy had a question, Bartram's 4-3, but Bartram has played some tough teams. And I was at Buchholz the other day and spoke with some of their coaches. They're very impressed with Bartram, very well coached. Should be a heck of a game.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at their 3 losses, don't be deceived by their record because they lost to Daytona Beach Mainland, which we have number 1 in our all classification regional rankings, and that covers 26 counties in Florida. We've got Mainland number 1, Buchholz number 2. That was just a 4-point loss. They lost at St. Augustine by 3, and they also lost, even though it was handily, they lost to ING Academy out of Bradenton, which is top 5 in the nation. So that's 3 tough losses. And also consider the fact that they've been without their starting quarterback, Riley Trujillo, for a lot of these games. He's only played 4 games, Shane. He's a UCF commit, right around the top 100 seniors in the state of Florida. And then they've got a really good running back in Lathan Biddle. He'll go over 1,000 yards tonight. He's averaging 136 yards a game, 13 touchdowns. He is a Navy commit, but he's going to be running against a pretty good defense. Buchholz has really been playing well defensively. Their last 3 games have given up a total of 20 points. And they've got, obviously, Miles Graham, who's a 4-star linebacker. They've got Kendall Jackson on the front line, 3-star. Both those young men are going to the University of Florida. It'll be a challenge tonight for Buchholz, but I really like the way the Bobcats are playing. Trace Johnson has done a heck of a job in just his sophomore year. He's right at 1,400 yards passing, 19 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. But, Quentin Cutler is a key for them because he's been able to average almost 7 yards per carry. And, the one game that he was out due to injury, Miles Graham stepped up and went for over 200 yards rushing. He's a nice, he's a good guy to put in there when you're starting to wear down that line a little bit in the second half. But this is going to be a tough game. Buchholz is trying to go undefeated, Shane, for the first time since 2001. It'll be a tough game. It's senior night tonight. But if they win this game, I think Buchholz will go undefeated. And right now that's important because there's a chance that Buchholz could be the top overall seed right now. University High School out of Orange City, the Orlando area, they are the number 1 seed overall in Class 4S, but Buchholz is right behind them, and Buchholz is number 1 in their region. So they'll at least be at home during the playoffs, and you can win a district championship game. Tonight's for the district championship in 4S District 3. So yeah, lots of implications in tonight's game.
Well, as I said, Buchholz has a very good team, especially their interior linemen. But this is the type of game that you say, you know what, Miles Graham, you ain't coming out of the game. You're going to play offense and defense because the last thing you can do as a coaching staff is have the best player on the field for whatever reason in a game type winning drive or whatever sitting on the sideline. I would play that joker until he couldn't play anymore tonight because he's going to be the best player on the field. It's not even close.
Oh, no question. Yeah.
He's one of the best high school players I've ever seen. Michael,
I mean, he definitely passes that eye test. As soon as you see him on the field, he's ready for the next level already.
Yeah. Mike has a question on Facebook Live brought to you by Mellon. What is it with Bradford? They are stuck between Gainesville and Jacksonville and don't get much love. They are very good. I will tell you that. Jamie Rogers is doing a tremendous job with them. You want to add to that, Mike?
Yeah, last year it was defense that carried Bradford. They actually set a school record with 9 shutouts last year. And even though they've only posted a couple of shutouts, I mean, they're giving up 6 points, 7 points, 6 points. They had to go to Miami to face True North Classical Academy. I'm not even sure if I've even heard of that team before. They're a Class 1M team, but they were a top 10 ranked team. And Bradford got the win on the road. So right now, Bradford is 7-0. They've got Lecanto, who they'll beat coming up on Friday night. They've got Palaca, who they should beat. Swanee, I think they'll beat them. Swanee just lost their first game of the year to Madison County. And then we'll see what happens in the postseason because, last year Bradford was able to make a run all the way to the state semifinals. I think they've got the talent to do that again. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes they probably do fly under the radar a little bit because they're located in Stark. Obviously, they're in our coverage area, but they don't get as much love from us because we're covering all the Alachua County teams and so forth. But I do think Bradford has a chance to make a little bit of a run this year.
Yep. Radware is a family-owned business that prides itself in excellent customer service while providing quality and affordable promotional products and customized apparel. Mike Ridaught from the Main Street Daily News and Prep Zone, talking a little high school sports. Real quick, another team that's probably going to go undefeated in the Gainesville area is Oak Hall. RJ Fear's done a tremendous job. Just talk briefly about the Oak Hall Eagles.
Yeah, in fact, last night I had Oak Hall on my high school show at the Prep Zone at Sonic Drive-In, and they've got a big game coming up. But let me take you back to this past Friday, Shane, because they were supposed to play a lesser opponent, and they've been blowing out everybody this year. In fact, kind of funny, they scored 70 points against Seven Rivers Christian out of Lecanto, and set a school record for points in that game. But 3 weeks later, they broke their own school record and beat Eaglesview 74-32. Now they got their first test this past Friday night against PK Young. Surprisingly, it's the first time that those two teams had met since the mid '80s. They've only played. That's only the second meeting all time between Oak Hall and PK Young. And Oak Hall was down 8-0 at the half. Got a little motivation speech at the half, and came back and beat PK Young 20-8 to stay undefeated. But their biggest test wasn't this past Friday. It's going to be this Friday. They travel to Masters Academy of Oviedo, and Oak Hall competes in that SSAA conference, which is outside of the FHSAA. And right now, Oak Hall is sitting 4th in their conference or in their division, and Masters Academy is the number 1 seed right now. So that's a big game on the road against Masters Academy this Friday night. And then the next 2 weeks, they'll have playoffs for the North Division. And then the winner of that will play the South Division. So it's a chance to, again, kudos to the job that RJ Fuhrer has done, because since the start of the 2019 season, Oak Hall has gone 38-7, 30-3 since the beginning of 2020. They were undefeated last year. They're undefeated this year. So, yeah, just an outstanding job by RJ to lead the Eagles, and here they are, and maybe a chance to win a state title this year.
Yep. All right, let's talk about the intriguing thing in our area, the 1R, I guess it's called. Hawthorne's clearly the best. Then would you put Williston right behind them? And then is it Union County, Newberry, Madison County? How would you rank those?
Okay, so Union County, Madison County are in Region 3.
Okay.
Hawthorne, Williston, Newberry, Pahokee, those are your top teams in Region 4. I mean, it's a loaded Region 4. So that means of those teams I just listed, with Williston, Hawthorne, and Newberry in particular, only one of those teams will have a chance to play for a state championship because somebody's not getting out of that region. I thought that Hawthorne was the best team. I think the jury may still be out. I broadcast their game last week against Union County, and even though they won the game 28-0, it was just 14-0 at the half. Hawthorne scored with about a minute to play. Again, Andrew Zock, a phenomenal player. He's a Navy commit. He's their leader on defense. They got Caleb Rollerson, who leads the team in catches. Obviously, the job that Cornelius or CJ Ingram has done at quarterback has been phenomenal. Going into that game, 17 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So Williston, I saw and broadcast their game, Shane, against Newberry a couple of weeks ago. Newberry should have won that football game. They scored with about 4 minutes to play in the game. And knowing that Williston is primarily a running team, I thought it was going to be tough for them to come back. But give credit to Robbie Pruitt. They end up winning, Shane, on a Statue of Liberty call, a 16-yard touchdown run with less than a minute to play to stay undefeated. So I don't know. Right now, here's the thing about Williston. They have to go on the road to take on Hudson, which is 7-0 and receiving votes in Class 2S. So we'll get a good measuring stick, this week for Williston. But Hawthorne, they've got to go to North Marion. They're going to win out. They'll be undefeated heading into the postseason. Williston could be undefeated heading into the postseason. I don't know. I think it's too close to call right now whether Williston is the best team or Hawthorne is the best team. They're both really good.
So one of those two teams potentially would play the winner of Union, Madison, that side of the bracket, to have a chance to go play for the state title. I know you got some of that Baker school out by Pensacola is always in it too as well.
Yeah, and they reseed the teams, once you get to the Final Four. So I'm not sure that you would have a Region 3 versus Region 4 matchup. We didn't get that last year. We had a chance to have Union County and Hawthorne play against each other in the state championship, and then Union County lost in the state semifinals. But, it's going to be fun come playoff time because you don't want to count out a team like Newberry. Newberry's only lost 2 games, and they were both to Williston in the final minute and Hawthorne, who I know they would love to get another shot at. So, it's going to be fun. Postseason, in that region in particular, in 1R, there's a lot of good teams in that region.
Yeah, it really is. Last thing for you down in Ocala, obviously Vanguard will make a run. Trinity Catholic's having a rough year, but they're playing a brutal schedule. They'll probably still play for the state title. Give us an update on those two programs.
Yeah, and if the season ended today, Trinity Catholic would be the 4 seed in Region 2. Vanguard actually would be the number 1 seed in their region, Region 2, in Class 4S. 3S. Excuse me. So I think both those teams have a chance to make a little bit of a run. Trinity Catholic, you look at their record and you're like, wow, they must be down this year. But they've played an extremely tough schedule. They've got PK Young next week for the district championship. I think they'll blow them out. But I think Trinity Catholic will, they were in the state championship game last year, and John Brantley does a great job with that team. And obviously Vanguard, they're always in the mix too. So looking forward to the postseason in Ocala as well.
Yeah. All right, Mike, before we get you out here, let us know or let the listeners know how they can listen to the ball games this week and then read all your stuff at Main Street Daily News.
I appreciate it, Shane. Tonight, Bart Cantrell at Buchholz, Marty Palman, and Cam Parker on the call. That's a 7 o'clock kick for senior night, district championship game, 6:45 pregame. You can listen online at mainstreetdailynews.com. I'll be at the Gainesville, New Smyrna Beach district championship volleyball game, and I'll have a recap of that one tonight. Marty will have a recap of that Buchholz football game tonight at Main Street. And then our radio broadcast tomorrow, is PK Young at Newberry, 7:30 kick, 7 o'clock pregame. Join myself and Hank Rome for the action on 106.9 FM, and obviously I'll have a recap of that game. We do have our power poll coming out this morning, which ranks the top 20 teams across 26 counties, our football rankings. And then also I'll have a newsletter tomorrow and an article leading up to tonight's game. Actually, I'll have a story this morning about that as well.
Good stuff, buddy. Appreciate your time.
All right, Shane. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
That's Mike Ridaught. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow hotline. Rules-Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com at 352-240-1779. Jared on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, "Good morning, Gator Nation. Shane, I've seen Coach Napier call the shovel pass to the tight end a couple of times. I think it was a mess against Utah. Do you think they'll run that next week with Boardingham?" Possibly. I don't think it was a mess. Just sometimes plays don't work. You think it's going to work, you call it, and it gets stuffed. So yeah, it's an effective play. Boardingham would be the guy to do that. For sure. Real quick, this day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. On this day in 2022, Philadelphia Phillies right-hander Aaron Nola faced his brother, San Diego Padres catcher Austin Nola, in the first Major League Baseball playoff sibling pitcher batter battle. And we all know that the Phillies went on to win that. So that's this day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Enjoy the football tonight. Jags and Saints should be a good one. I think the Saints are going to win it at home. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is playing or not. Andy says, "Can the Jags beat the Saints tonight without Trevor?" I don't think so. I do not think so, because Saints are very good in the dome and they have a nasty defense. So enjoy the games tonight. Baseball as well. Both games play tonight, and we'll see you at the same place, same time tomorrow. Take care, folks.